In this video, I'm going to do another example on linear programming. So if you haven't watched the first one, I would recommend you do that because it's a much easier example than this one. If you're confident with that one or you really want to look at this example, then do continue watching. Keep in mind that throughout the video, I'm going to assume you know how to shade linear inequalities, you know how to graph linear inequalities and so on. So as mentioned in the previous video, for linear programming, you need to make sure that you understand the question, you read the question, and you point out all the equations that they've given you. So in this question, you can pause and read the question on your own. So we are looking at x being the Bruno and y being the Blaze the cat foods. So the first thing we have is the cost of each one, and we also have how much the shopkeeper has to spend, which is 15. We also know how much he needs to get altogether, so he needs at least 30 tins altogether. And then we have this requirement, at least 1/3 of the tins should be Blaze. So I'm going to get to that in a bit. Once we are done with the first part, then we're going to look into the second part. So at the moment, we won't be able to do the second part unless we've graphed everything. So for the first one, I first want to write an inequality regarding the price. So if I buy X Brunos, then the cost is going to be 40 cents times X. And then if I buy the Blaze, then I have 60 cents times the Blaze, and as a combination they should be less than or equal to the cost he has, so because they can't go beyond this price, and it can't be in dollars, it has to be in cents, so we multiply by 100 and that's what we're going to get. Simplify this, so after simplifying, divide by 20, you're going to get 2x plus 3y is less than or equal to 75. So that's our first inequality. The second inequality is that he has to buy at least 30 tins altogether. So a combination of x and y should be at least 30. So this is the combination we're looking at. And then the last one is slightly complicated. The last condition is that at least 1/3 of the tins should be Blaze. So 1/3 of the tins should be the y, which means that 2/3 should be x. So the best way to combine the x and y together is to, weirdly enough, divide them. So another way to look at this is we could think of it as a ratio. So for every one Blaze can, you need to have 2 Bruno cans. And I can write this as a fraction of 1/2. Or you can say, well, y divided by x is the same as 1/3 divided by 2/3, which is 1/2. Now we need inequalities, we don't need these arrows. So what is the inequality? Well, it says that it's at least 1/3 of the cans have to be Blaze. So it should be more or equal to this third, which means this is more equal to, so this has to be greater than or equal to whatever this is going to be. So we have y over x is greater than or equal to 1/2. Well, we can't really graph it as such, so let's just cross multiply. I'm going to get 2y is greater than or equal to x. And you could rearrange and make y the subject if you want to, and then graph the y bigger than x/2. You should know how to graph this. Just substitute a couple of values and then pick any values for x and substitute them in and see what coordinates of y you're going to get. Try at least 2 or 3. So now that we have our 3 inequalities, so I have 2y is bigger than or equal to x. Graphing them all together, We don't have any strict inequalities. We have equal to inequalities, so we're always going to get straight lines. The first line I'm going to graph as the 2x plus 3y, and that is going to cross 25, and it's going to come right here at 37.5. And then my second one is going to be from 30 to 30. These are always the easiest to graph. And then my other one is the x value is always going to be half the y value. So let's say I pick 40, then my y is going to be half of it. So this 20. So I have this region here left. My lines are a bit too thick. So then I'm going to start doing my shading, the inequality shading, using the techniques I've taught. So the best technique so far is to substitute 0 when needed, or just knowing where the region is if it's clear. So for the first one, which is the 2x plus 3y equals to, this is equals to 75. I'm looking at all the values less than 75, so anything above this region is not included. So I'm going to try and be as accurate as possible. And then for the second one, so for the second line, we have x plus y is greater than or equal to 3. So I need the combination of, this is x plus y equals to 30. I need the combination of x and y to be more than 30. So I can't take anything less than this line. So anything less than this line will not be included. So anything less here. Hopefully it's quite obvious where the region is. And then the last part is to look at the 2y greater than or equal to x. Again, I can substitute some values from here and from here and see which one satisfies the inequality. And you're going to realize that anything below the line does not satisfy the inequality. So anything below this line does not satisfy. Keep in mind that all of the regions that I didn't finish shading are meant to be shaded. So this and the blue. So the region I'm left with is this tiny part here. And what I need to do is list out all the possible values that lie within this region. And that's going to help me answer the next part of the question, which is that the shopmaker makes a profit of 10 cents a tin on Bruno and 20 cents a tin on Blaze. So we have another formula for the profit. So assuming he can sell all his stock, find how many tins of each type he should buy to maximize his profits and find that profit. So first of all, he's restricted by all of these possible values of Bruno and Blaze tins he could buy. So from these possible values, which one of these would give him a maximum profit? Well, let's first list out all the possible values. Let me just take this down. So listing out all the possible values, if we zoom in here, So if I zoom into my regions, and remember there are three conditions. First, if you have a dotted or a straight line. Second, you need to make sure that you're looking at whole values. So in this case, we are looking at whole values. It's tens. You can't have 1.5 tens. So we're looking at integer solutions. And third, you need to make sure that you go inside the region as well, not just on the lines. So first we have this solution, which is 20 and 10. So we have 20 and 10. We have 19 and 11. So we actually have a lot of values. I'm just going to point them out, and then you can determine all the inequality points. So this is 15 and 15. Remember, we're looking at whole numbers. So then we have this value, and then this value. This, remember, go inside the region, and 1, 2, 3. So there was one extra. So from the values, we have this 21 here. We have 2 coordinates with 20. We have 2 coordinates with 19, 2 with 18, 117, 116, and 115. So we have 10. So just to point out all the values, we have so just to create a table like last time, we have the x, we have the y values, we have 15 and 15, we have 16 and 14, we have 17 and 13, we have 18 and 13. So this is my 18 and 13 and then this somehow doesn't belong in the region. Just making sure, because I'm doing it on a software, it doesn't actually show me an accurate answer. Anyways, then I have 19 and 12, 19 and 11, 19 and 20 and 11, 20 and 10, and then 21 and 11. So we have these values, and then using the formula for the profit, I can determine which one is going to give him the most profit. So the formula for profit is 10 for the Bruno and 20 for the Blaze. And we're going to see, just substituting the values and see how much profit you're going to get. So just testing out a few ones. So 15 times 10 plus 15 times 20, this will give me 450 cents. This is 440 cents. Try out the other ones. This is going to be 440, 430, 430 for the last one. So even if you try the other ones, they're actually going to give you less values. So the 450, is the best option. So that will give him the most profit. So 15 of the Bruno and 15 of the Blaze. So that's how you solve a linear programming question. It does seem long because the videos are long, but it's just a combination of listing down the linear inequalities, graphing them, shading them in an exam, this is a type of question that's already broken down to you. So you would have already found the inequalities in a separate equation. You would have already graphed them in a separate, question. And a separate question, you've graphed them. In a separate question, you've shaded them. And then in a separate question, you've done the list of possible options. And then in the last question, it would be to find which one would give the best profit. So this type of question is split up into different parts. So yeah, make sure you graph accurately. So not like mine, I think I've went slightly off, and this coordinate doesn't actually belong in there. So just be careful with, I think it's a bit off. So just be careful with the coordinates that you plot in, and make sure you list all the possibilities out.